Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Life podcast. On today's show, I have IP lawyer and I guess, basically entrepreneur Devin Miller. We're going to talk, but before we do that, you listen to podcasts, right? Everybody that listens to podcasts thinks, you know what, maybe I should start a podcast. Well, maybe you should and maybe you shouldn't. Those are important questions to consider. But if you have subject matter expertise in something, it's worth considering because podcasts that make money are always the ones that are about specific subject matter expertise about something. Why do I know that? Because I know. So if you want to start a podcast, go to getagripstudios.com. Scott will help you out. We can help you out anywhere in the world. But for right now, Devin Miller, Get a Grip on Life. What's happening, Devin?
Not much. Just enjoying life. It's Friday, which is the next best day till Saturday. And plus it's Valentine's Day, so can't complain.
There you go. You got a lot going on. So I actually have a patent.
Oh, cool.
I have a U.S. patent. I have two trademarks. Okay.
All right.
But I find that if somebody were to ask me right now, if they were to say, if you do it all over again, I wouldn't file my patent. It was a lot of energy, time, and money. And it's more like a trophy on my wall than it is like anything useful to me. Does that make sense? A really expensive award,
Sure. Hey, some of the best rewards are the expensive ones that you have to buy, right?
I agree. But so before, I guess I should probably tell. So you are, an entrepreneur. You got a bunch of degrees, law, electrical engineering. You say Mandarin. Do you speak Mandarin Chinese?
Yeah, I do. Uh-huh.
Okay. So you're kind of like, that's worth noting. And now you've started this Miller IP Law, which helps startups and small businesses with patents and trademarks. Yep. So to me, when you say that, this is why I was interested as soon as I saw your bio. I see I think there's that area is totally ripe for disruption right now. Because a lot of the great ideas do come from small and medium-sized enterprises. And the patent process, especially when you start going global, is very intimidating.
Yes.
So what do you do for these peeps?
Every case is different. And that's a lot of times when I sit down with because to your point, sometimes if all you're going to do is do a wall hanger, there's probably less expensive ways to put something nice on your wall or something more pretty. And so, every business and startup and small business is different. And some of them, it absolutely makes sense. And other times I come away saying, it doesn't make sense for your business. And so what do you do with them? Well, I would take it on a case-by-case basis, kind of looking at what their business is. So let me give you maybe a couple examples of when it makes sense and sometimes when I've seen where it doesn't make sense. So let's say, for example, you're in a heavy technology area, very competitive, having a lot of different businesses that are trying to compete in the same area, outdo each other and do something unique and different. That one is one where it typically makes sense because a lot of your product and what you're bringing to market is technology. You need to maintain what is something proprietary. The other thing you a lot of times look at is what is the purpose of getting your patent, meaning there's a few different reasons why you may get a patent. One is to kind of box out or protect your area, right? So you're worried that you're going to put in a whole lot of blood, sweat, and tears only to have someone come in, knock you off or to copy you. And then you're saying, great, now I put in all this time and effort to develop this awesome technology only to have someone else right on my coattails. That's one reason. But a lot of times when you're a startup in a small business, it's more of you're trying to create a tangible asset or an asset that you can go out, whether it's get a loan against angel investors, VCs, or venture capitalists, or something that you're creating an actual tangible asset that you can, or for acquisition or licensing. Those are the type of things a lot of times that drive the value in for startups and small businesses is as much of the asset as it is of just protecting it. So that's what you almost have to look at. Now let's give the flip side of when you probably wouldn't go for a patent. And that would be, let's say you're going to be something that's in the market for a year or two. You're going to be in and out. You're going to be quick. You're going to blow the market up, go viral, and then be back out. So think of almost like a Snuggie, right? Snuggie was the most popular thing for a year or two. Everybody had to have one. Everybody bought one. And then to a large extent, it was out of the marketplace.
What's a Snuggie? Sorry, I don't even know what a Snuggie is.
You don't know what a Snuggie is?
No, I know.
Snuggie was
You don't watch enough daytime TV, man.
you gotta watch a little more. Snuggie was the blanket that you could basically wear. So it had like armholes that you could kind of wear more like a wearable blanket, so to speak.
Okay.
You're probably the only one in America that doesn't know.
I'm in Canada, but I'm sure Canadians love Snuggies too. It's cold up here, man. Hey, but yeah, so I get what you're saying. North America. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So, but okay, so let me ask you this. So, you had a couple different things there that you came up with for patents, right? One was investors, right? So, investors like protected technology, right?
Yeah.
You know, hey, you know, I would, oh, wow, you have a patent on that. That's great. Or you have a patent pending on that. That's, you know, something that gives us some room to move and operate, right? So investors like that. You want to be able to disclose things to people. So when you put things into the patent process, you're disclosing them in a legal fashion which outlines your claims, right?
Sure.
Right? Then you may want to license the technology to others. We got the Snuggie up on screen here. Okay, I get it. There we go. Way to go. There's my producer. Way to go. You got licensing. And then you want to you said you talked about, you know, just carving out some turf and some time for yourself. The problem with this, and you know, not to be devil's advocate here, but I have advocated.
Play devil's advocate.
I've advocated on his behalf a lot, actually. But
so do I. So we're a good company.
So the licensing angle, okay. So would you consult with a small business on how to start licensing their technology?
I will give them my experience and thoughts and feedback. I don't do that as a professional role or to give that as, hey, don't pay. And it wouldn't make sense. As an attorney, I'm probably too expensive to pay me to do that role. But I certainly, you know, if I sit down with a startup or a small business, I'll say, hey, here's what I have done. Because I've taken I started a business when I was doing my JD MBA or law degree and MBA degree. I also started a business in the meantime. And that one have gone on to license to another company for a 7-figure deal. And that one worked out pretty well. So they can happen. And I do have personal experience to draw from, but it's different every company. Some of them, it makes sense to license, some doesn't. So I'll give them my experience and what I would think, but I don't do it as a professional role or go out and find those licensees for them. I leave that to the business.
Okay. That was my next question in terms of licensees. Is there a predatory aspect in this licensee situation? Like when you like, so I did a podcast. So I do a podcast on the lighting business. Okay. And, there were two companies. One company acquired another company, or they merged. Okay. Can't remember what it was, an acquisition or a merger. And then, so the editor of this magazine is like, you guys got to do a show on this merger between these two companies. So I called it a stitch up. And I said it was about, because every time you saw this one company in the news, it was about patents. Okay. So we're suing somebody for patent infringement. And then I found out that the company they acquired has tons of patents. Okay. So, I mean, like, that's a business, right? Like, licensing of patents is a business that you can get really, really good at, right?
Yeah. No, there's some that do it very well.
Yeah.
A lot that don't do it well. Yeah.
Right. But when we say we do it well, and you know, a lot of people say, oh, Michael, you're always accusing everybody of cigar room business deals. At the end of the day, if you own the license to a certain technology and somebody's using that technology without your permission or paying the fees, you need to go tell them that they need to start paying you the fees.
Yeah. No, that's a fair way to put it. And I would put it yes with an exception. Sometimes, let's say you have a world's greatest patent, and yet you're a small startup or a small business that doesn't have very much financial means, right? You're just getting going, and you are investing in patents or other things, trademarks or that, and you're saying, yes, I am in the right. Yes, I could go and enforce it, but the other company has a bigger footprint. It's going to be difficult to enforce it, and I'm going to have a hard time getting them to come to the table. It may make sense to hold off for a year or two and then come back when you've gotten better financial stability or better backing or more presence in the marketplace to then go out and enforce it. So I would agree with you, but sometimes the timing makes sense. You hold off for a year or two until you really have the wherewithal to actually make or get the other company to pay attention. And
Yeah,
willing
like
to
a lot
come
of
to the
people are
table.
just going to say, yeah, right, buddy. We're not paying you crap. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously.
Uh-huh.
Like, they're not just sitting there with their checkbook out going, oh, you got a patent, do you? That's fantastic. Here's my checkbook. You want me to pay you monthly? Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, that would be great if that's how it happened.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, but you hear about these big cases, and a lot of people. So I love BlackBerry. Still use a BlackBerry actually, and I love the phones.
You're one of the few.
One of the few standing left, but yeah, I'm okay. I'll take that. But but I mean, they slayed a lot of Goliaths over the years. Ericsson, Fido, Qualcomm, Palm, and then they ran into Apple. But what really got them? A lot of people don't remember this. It wasn't Apple. They got caught up in some stupid patent litigation over using thumbs to type. I don't know. A lot of people don't remember. And they spent hundreds of millions of dollars of this stuff. And they got stuck. They probably could have got out of it for $20 million. It ended up costing them $600 million in legal fees and everything else. And it was a massive distraction from, say, 2006 to 2009. A lot of this patent stuff can become a distraction. Can become it's almost like trying to get some rent seeking going in your business or something. And, other people want to fight you on this. So you have to make sure that you have good claims and that you're, that other people are, I don't know if amenable is the right word, but are able to digest your claims and say, yeah, sure. And then how much do you charge them, Devin?
Yeah. So, I'll jump, or I would agree with you that you have to make it understandable or approachable. You play the fine line of, you have to make it legally in the right realm so that you can get it through the process. And if you try and just make it so easily understandable or readable, it shouldn't be understandable, but using English language or readable to what people are used to, you often have traps, or that you're going to always be catching or getting caught and not be able to get through. So you do want to put it in kind of the right legal format. But I agree that it has to be one where, if you have to go ahead and force it to a judge or to a jury, they're oftentimes not patent attorneys. They're oftentimes more not used to it. And so you have to make it so that it is understandable and approachable, so that if you ever have to enforce it or license it, the people actually know what it is. But you asked a little bit about pricing, or what I charge. So I work, as you mentioned, kind of the startup. I do a lot with startups and small businesses, and one of the few difficulties that they run into, but one is that if you get on an attorney on an hourly rate or an hourly wage, it always feels like they're running up the clock, right? It always feels like it's an open checkbook, never ending, and they're always charging you more, and they're coming in kind of like building a new house, and the contractor always comes back and tells you, yes, we quoted you this, but we ran into this, or we have this thing.
I always felt like my patent lawyer was checking in for $5,000 every couple months, just checking in. That's what it felt like. I'm just coming to check in. You got your checkbook? Yeah, it's about $5,000.
Yeah, exactly. And every time you give them a call, you feel like, okay, I'm on this call for 5 minutes, and they're going to charge me for an hour of their time.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I've been there.
Is that model broken? Is that model broken? That model of going to of the billable hour? Is the model broken?
I think it's shifting. So I think that you have the law, and I'll now we're off on a tangent, but I'll come back to the pricing. But the law model, I think the legal industry is a very, I would say, slow moving animal. You have very old law firms, very entrenched law firms, and you also have what are partners that are more senior in the firms, and that they like the model that they're used to, that they grew up in, because it's an easy model, right? I bill as many hours as I can. I get as high a billings as I can. And as long as the clients will pay for it, it's a really good model because they make a pretty good profit. But what we're seeing is, and I would say that it's almost the same thing as, when you have Amazon Prime, you have Netflix, and things are moving to where people want to have flat fees or subscription based. They know what they're going to pay for any given thing. And I think that's where the model is shifting. And even within the legal arena, I think it was really based on kind of when you had the economic downturn 2008 and 9, and you had people that were they didn't have the means and the wherewithal to just pay an unlimited billable hour. And so they almost started pushing back on the legal industry, saying, you have to give me a quote. I have to know how much this is going to cost me. I want to have capped fees, so you can't just run out the tab. And that's kind of now pushed the legal arena into being more of a flat fee or a capped fee type of a thing, where you can't exceed so much. And that's where I think the legal industry is probably moving. And even some of them,
So the
are now
deliverable
moving
for a
to
cost,
subscription-based.
like this is the deliverable and this is how much it costs. And you deal
Yep,
with whether
exactly.
it takes you more or less time to do it. I think
Yep.
that it has to go that way. I don't think that when I see things like not certain kinds of law, like if you're getting divorced, well, I mean that's a different situation. But delivering a
Sure.
patent, that's a deliverable product that lawyers could offer, or like visa application to the United States. For example, which visa do you want to apply for? Oh, it's $7,000 for the L1. And this is what you have to give us. You have to give us this, and then we'll do it for that. So I think the legal model for patents, visas, things that are clearly end result deliverable that are not going to be litigated in court, I think those should be set fees for sure from law firms.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I'm in agreement. So
cool.
the only thing that people have to realize is it is moving almost to a commodity based feel. But just like, if you go out and buy a car or you buy a, whatever, there are different levels, different people that have different ability and skill set to get you, whether it's the Rolls Royce or the Ferrari versus, the Kia or the Chevy or whatever. There are different skill sets, and different attorneys can do a better job or a worse job. So you can't, while it's moving to a flat fee, I don't know that it's going to be everybody's going to charge the exact same rate and it's a pure commodity. Rather, there's an element of skill and ability to get a better patent or a cheap patent and a worse patent. Because I see a lot of times you'll get people that are startups or or small businesses. They're going to say, oh, well, this cost is this, and I'll go to whichever is the cheapest provider. Sometimes the cheapest provider is absolutely the right thing for them, and they get a great deal. Other times it's the cheapest provider and it's not the best deal, even though it's cheaper. And so that's the one thing that I think
that's true of all industries.
Evolving.
That's true of all industries. No,
I agree.
I mean, people that the process of client selection is a two-way street, or supplier selection. So if you take all customers, then you are a commodity by definition.
Yep.
Right? Like if you're willing to deal with everybody. I got some feedback here, Scott. If you're willing to deal with anybody and everybody, then that's what you're doing. If you're saying, no, I have a better value proposition than this other guy, and here's why, then it's your obligation to explain that to the client and to differentiate that. And then that makes you more choosy. Maybe you discriminate more based on which clients you want to take on and which ones you don't, because you charge a certain amount, and only certain people are able to absorb that value from you. Does that make sense? Other people can't absorb the value.
And I'm in total agreement. But I also think it leaves you an opportunity to not only be choosy for the clients that are the best, most expensive, but also choose the type of clients you want. So if I were to purely set up my law firm as a profit-driven motive, and I'm all for profits. I don't take it as that.
Sure.
But it wouldn't be for startups and small businesses, because the big businesses typically can pay more for a given matter for a given patent. But for me, I like working with the startups and small businesses. You get to interact with them more. You get to strategize with them more. You get to see them grow and become bigger. Sure. And so that it gives you an opportunity to say, yes, I could make more money, but maybe I don't. Money isn't my only incentive, and I want to work with the type of clients I want to work with and structure our business for those type of clients to service them. So I think there's that aspect, but I do agree that it gives you the ability to kind of select which type of clients or what that best fit is and how you're going to fit into that marketplace.
Another tangent here, which we seem to like to go down here, Devin. But it's interesting because I'm an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. And I often speak with people that are in this space here. What I've noticed is that most entrepreneurs that I've spoken to that are true, like I don't really see the venture capital crowd as true entrepreneurs. I see that as kind of managers of other people's capital that are risking it. Does that make sense? Like, I want to risk my capital in something crazy, so let's give it to this entrepreneur. I don't know if that's a pure entrepreneur. I think a pure entrepreneur has his own skin in the game. Okay?
Sure.
Okay. But
I'll let you finish. I have one
let me just
thought on that.
let me just finish my point here, though. But you mentioned that, I do this because I really like working with these types of people. And I feel like I fit
Mhm.
there and that I'm actually contributing something to them and delivering them real value. So I'm going to stay here, even though if I went and did this other thing that I don't want to do, I could make more money.
Mhm.
It turns out that for most entrepreneurs that are successful, profit is some kind of necessary evil. It's not,
Mm.
or like it's not the motive. The motive is to add value, and then from there to be able to build a business around the adding of that value and make money off it. It's not about just doing whatever listen, everyone would be a real estate agent in Toronto if they wanted to make a lot of money because they don't work,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but they don't work that hard and they make a killing. So,
Right.
uh, I mean, there's certain things that you could do to make more money, but why do we do the things we do? I think it's because you recognize where your skills are best applied, Devin, and that's where you want to apply
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, and the old adage goes, an entrepreneur. The best thing about being an entrepreneur is you get to choose the 80 hours that you work, right? So if you wanted to do a 9 to 5 and 40 hours a week, you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur, and you can make more for your hourly wage half the time than being an entrepreneur. But there is that drive of, hey, I want to create something, or I want to do something. I want to be my own boss, and I want to be able to be in control or decide my destiny, and I don't want to be reliant. And that's a lot of times I think what drives an entrepreneur. And it is a different crowd, and it's a kind of a unique skill set. And a lot of people think they want to be entrepreneurs, and then they get into it, and I don't really like doing payroll, and then I have to do finance, and then I have to manage people, and I have to do HR, and I have to deal with legal problems. And it does take kind of that skill set of, hey, I'm going to get in there, fix the problems, deal with the issue, and get it going. And I do agree. I think that, circling back just on a little bit, venture capitalists, I think that one's an interesting crowd because it kind of almost to me splits into two different camps. One is that it's almost comes from an investment banker to, and almost kind of what you set up is people that they have money and they're just trying to invest it, right? And they're trying to get their biggest return on capital, their biggest ROI. Which
Yeah, they've set aside a
certainly
certain
understand
amount for high risk. They've set aside
right,
5% of their 400 million for high risk entrepreneur adventures, right? So there's that.
yeah. But I think there's a side, and it almost kind of splits between what I call an angel investor or a venture capital, because they kind of sometimes are interchangeable. Is you do get some people that are entrepreneurs, they make a lot of their money from entrepreneur ventures. They get to a point in their career that are saying, I don't know that I have the desire, or I want to go and start a new company, but I do want to be involved with startups, and I do want to help out the other up and coming companies. So a lot of times, sometimes they're looking for expertise, or they're looking for funding or that. And you do get some of the venture capitalists or angels that are saying, hey, I want to now kind of take what I've learned and mentor people and help them both financially as well as expertise. And that's where I think then you do get kind of that entrepreneur bleed through. But there are those kind of banker versus entrepreneur, and they're both different animals.
They're kind of like an entrepreneurial elder.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
It's like I totally see that. So I've I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 businesses I've started. Okay, and none of them are super huge, but I have fun starting them. But the thing is that like right now we're in the middle of like we're 2-3 years into a 5-year plan, and it's tight, man, and it's busy, and we're juggling a lot of balls, and there's a lot of things going on, and it's like I think it like that one might be my last. That might be my last like stick a flag in the ground and go for it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like where I'm in charge. Like it's going to be next time. It's going to be somebody else is going to be in charge, and they're going to be juggling the balls, and they're going to be flying all over the place and taking the calls and trying to hire the people and doing all that stuff, because I can see how you graduate kind of that elder status where it's like, yeah, I don't know about that, but I could help you if you want to talk a couple times a week, and I got some money to invest if you want to help take my guidance. So yeah, I think I'm almost ready to graduate to that entrepreneurial elder status, Devin.
I'm not there yet. Someday I'll be there. I'm still in the let's go get in, grind, and build something. So, but I think you get to a point where you're saying, okay, I've done this enough times. I don't know that I have it in with, but it's hard to remove the entrepreneur from the person. So you still want to be involved to do something, even if it's not quite to the same level.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is as you get better at being an entrepreneur, I think one of the key skills you develop is the ability to effectively delegate,
Mm,
like really delegate. Like I'm not talking, and then when I say that, I mean that doesn't mean sloughing off stuff on people. That means holding them accountable too, right?
yeah,
To make sure they do their job.
which can be hard to delegate and delegate, let people do it, and hold them accountable. It's a fine line.
Yeah, that's the balancing act, right? But I think as
Yep.
time goes on, that's where you get better. And as you get better, well, maybe you can actually delegate the entrepreneurship. And I think that's what like a Peter Thiel from Thiel Capital would probably be the star in the sky of those guys,
Yep.
that with the track record. But yeah, we've gone way away from Miller IP law. How do we segue back to this thing?
That's a good question.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's another thing. Having lawyers and accountants, how do you stay positive? Because I always find when I'm dealing with lawyers and accountants for the professional class, it's annoying to me as an entrepreneur. Now I'm with the bean counters and the word slingers, right? What do you want to write on paper, Mr. Lawyer? Did you write everything on paper? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
How do you stay positive?
Also, how I stay positive. I can't speak for other lawyers. One is I'm an entrepreneur at heart as much as a lawyer. I guess unique breed or whatever. I almost split what I love about 50-50. So I have startups I'm currently involved with. I love it. Every day is a roller coaster. You have good days and bad days, but it's one that I continually love to drive. So I drive a lot of the enjoyment from doing my own businesses and running those. But even with other companies, I always kind of joke that I get to do the fun type of law. I don't have to. I primarily focus on getting patents and prosecuting them and getting them allowed. So I get to work on the enjoyable part where you actually want to see your attorney, as opposed to, you mentioned, like divorce law or immigration or something where you're going through a tough time in life and it's not enjoyable and it's not fun. I get to work with all the startups and the small businesses that have all this cool technology and they've got a great business plan and they're coming to market. And so I kind of feed off a lot of that of, hey, this is fun and exciting to work with all of those same crowd that I like being and help them as well and strategize and figure it out. So that's where I find a lot of the enjoyment in the legal field is I get to see a whole bunch of cool technology and new innovations, and every patent I work on is different and is something unique. And so that's kind of enjoyable and fun for me.
Cool. And when you're prosecuting, so have you actually been before a judge prosecuting claims, like a client's?
So that would almost be misnomer. So if you're to look at the legal field and particularly patent, it almost splits into what's called prosecution and litigation. So prosecution is where you're before the United States Patent and Trademark Office, or USPTO. That's a prosecution where you're going back and forth with an examiner to get something allowed. That's where I focus more on. I have others at the firm that do more litigation. Litigation is where you go to the judge. So it does get confusing because most of the time when you hear prosecutor, you hear that's what I see on TV. But
yeah. See, I know what you mean. So prosecuting means discussing the claims with the examiner at the USPTO, right? And so he might say, no, this is there's prior art on this from US patent, da 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 da. You have to go back and say, no, this is different because of this, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
so and that's what I love to do. It's the art of being able to negotiate or figure out how you can convince an examiner what you're doing is different than what's already out there.
I knew I was screwed when my patent lawyer said it's kind of like a black magic.
That doesn't ever sound like words you want to hear. Just give me an open checkbook or a blank check, and you'll go in, and eventually something will come out the other side.
You got a website, Devin, for the peeps listening?
I do. It is Miller IPL. So MILLER. I as in intellectual, P as in property, L as in law.com. So MillerIPL.com.
What about some social media or anything like that?
I do mostly on LinkedIn, and I'd have to look up what my LinkedIn is. You can find me pretty easy if you look just Devin Miller, patent attorney, up in LinkedIn, but I'd have to think what that. I think it's LinkedIn.com/Miller IPL.
Yeah, we'll get you going. So we'll throw it up on the website if you're listening. If you want to find Devin, trust me. If you know that you need a patent, which is something most entrepreneurs know when they see something beautiful, like we need a patent. Call the patent lawyer right away. Interview a bunch of them. See if guys like Devin or somebody that's forward thinking. Patent lawyer is probably what you want, but deep down in your heart of hearts, what you really want to do is start a podcast. And when you want to do that, you got to go to getagripstudios.com, baby. That's getagripstudios.com right here in the city of Toronto. But hey, we're fully virtual all over the world. Devin and I just had a great conversation over that internet. So go to getagripstudios.com, and we're going to have all of Devin Miller's website linked in. We're going to find him and put him up on the website there so you can find him if you need him. Devin Miller, thanks for being a guest on the Get a Grip on Life podcast, man.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Me too, man. Good luck. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.